Yo, what up guys, Travic here, and today I want to talk Assassin. More importantly, I want to talk Blade Fury Assassin. Now, if you haven't seen this kind of assassin is actually completely crazy. Blade Fury is a skill that recently got reworked for Season 11, and when you attack monsters, it splits and pops all over the place. Originally, the skill was designed to bounce off of walls, and you can see it bouncing off of walls here. But lately, with the redo of Season 11, you can now use this skill to completely and utterly bounce off of enemies. This skill has been an absolute blast to play the last couple of days, and it has been pretty much clearing all content with ease. LOD content, no problem. Maps, no problem at all. And I figured today we could talk about it, showcase it to you guys, and give you guys a budget option and a more advanced option. Now, before I get too deep into it, first thing I want to say is I was not very aware of this build. I knew Blade Fury was a thing. I didn't know how good of a thing it was. In the past, I have played Blade Sentinel. In the past, I have played Blade Dance, but I have never actually played Blade Fury. And I've heard in previous seasons, it was out of control and just completely cracked. It was like one of the best boss killers and things you could do. And then it was nerfed and buffed, so forth and so on. So how I stumbled upon this was pretty simple. I was looking the Diablo 2 directory on Twitch, and I stumbled across Mr. Sleepy Cat, and he was playing it. I went into his stream, I asked him a bunch of questions about it. He was just an awesome dude. He was very willing to answer questions about it, and he showcased it to me how he was playing it. He then directed me to I Am the Anti-Noob, which is the Hi I Am guys, and he was telling me that these guys were playing it, and I went over and I watched Hi I Am, and I did some research on it, and it was completely and utterly crazy. Now, I went even as far as to like look at different builds. I saved a bunch of different builds, and pretty much I was kind of following along with what both Mr. Sleepy Cat were doing and the I Am gentleman was doing as well. And I found some really cool variants. Now I'm just pulling it up for you guys, but Hi I'm Better Throw, which is Hi I'm the Anti-Noob, was actually playing it as Reaper's Toll when I was watching with Tyrael's Might and Veil of Steel. And it looked completely crazy, just completely and utterly bonkers. And I started doing some research. Now, this snapshot of gear will be included for you guys down below. You'll be able to find it in the description of the video. And while you're down there, make sure you click the thumbs up button and the like button if you want more content like this. But moving right along, when I saw this gear and I saw the way that he was playing it, I went straight to work. I started seeing what kind of gear I have and what I can work with. Very quickly, I found out that I had some of the Nat set. So I threw the Nat set on to just kind of play around and see how it would go. Now, I didn't have a really good second claw that I wanted to use, so I threw on the Jade Talon, and then I got told to just use the Chaos Claw. But for this case right now, we're just gonna throw on the Jade Talon. I then went out and picked up this belt super duper cheap. I had this just lying around in my stash. I had a Raven from messing around, and I had a nice dual leech ring. You see right away, my damage with Blade Fury is 8,500. My resistances are capped with Nat set on. Nat set gives you 2 to all skills, a bunch of resistance, a bunch of DR. You can summon an additional shadow. It is completely and utterly crazy. My amulet, nothing to write home about, just 2 to assassin skills and resistances. The 2 to max res, while helps making me a little tanky, doesn't really do a whole lot. Now, this character with this gear on, once again, can go straight into LOD content and just completely and utterly clear LOD content without any problems at all. You see right away, you go in and things just immediately start dying. You don't have really too much to worry about, but you know, overall, in LOD content farming, you just throw in some Nats gear, you throw on a regular weapon, and you just go to town. It is a great way to progress your character outside of doing Chaos Claw if you're looking for something a little bit different to do. My good friend Scott picked up the whole Nat set last night for about 25 World Stone shards, and he was able to really start making, you know, huge progress. Now, how does this character do in maps? Now, before we get into skills and stuff, let's talk about how it performs in maps and what's going on. Your tier 1 maps are obviously going to be a breeze. You're going to just blast through tier 1 maps. You're going to do a lot of tier 1 maps, ideally indoor tier 1 maps. Tier 3 maps, same thing. They're a little, you know, they're not too hard. They're not too easy. As you get better gear, they'll be easier and easier. I know a lot of people like to test with Throne of Insanity. I guess we could do a Throne of Insanity just to kind of showcase how it's going to be. This build will perform really well in closed indoor maps. So, you know, just keep that in mind. Ideally too, for map modifiers that aren't very good, I'm not a huge fan of monsters have increased maximum life, but it is what it is for this test, and we'll just kind of go into it with, you know, the realistic version. Now, no, this build can die. It will die. It sometimes falls over. It happens. It is a build that, you know, sometimes you'll die. So if you do die, I'm sorry. Now, one thing that I'm going to point out very quickly is there are two variations and ways to build this build. The first way is like you see now with the Nat set on, where you have the Nat set, you're a little tankier until you get more high-end gear. And then the other way is to put on the Reaper's Toll and do all that. But you see right away, we're going into the map, we're blasting it down. I was doing these maps yesterday on stream in about 10-11 minutes. My buddy Mendo with better gear than me is doing them in about 7-8 minutes. So as you get more and more gear, you'll start flying more and more through these maps. The big difference between the Nat set variant and the other set is just pretty much the basics of the weapon. You're going to notice when you play Nat set, you're going to have claws on, and claws are huge for builds like this. Assassins love wearing claws, and claws are pretty much a big bread and butter for the assassin class. They even have an entire, you know, talent point called Claw and Dagger Mastery based on using claws that gives them a whole lot of damage. Now, what's really cool about what you're watching right now in this variation of it is I currently only have 1 point into Claw and Dagger Mastery because the version of the build that I was playing did not rely on claws, so there was no reason to take the extra Claw and Dagger Mastery. So this current variation that you're watching right now is missing an absolute ton of damage and can be even stronger and even faster if I were to put on some extra, you know, some extra points and to shuffle around my points. But let's leave this for now, and you guys can see that this works really, really, really well. Let's back out over here. Let's go to town for a second so we don't die, and let's talk about the gear and the gear swaps. Nat set is very straightforward. I just happen to have a Nat's Claw corrupted with enhanced damage. You don't need this. I have no sockets in mine right now, and I left it empty on purpose for this test, just to simulate sticking some ED jewels in my Nats. My helmet, not corrupted, not socketed, plenty of room for improvement. My body armor, not socketed, plenty of room for improvement. My second weapon, pretty poopy, plenty of room for improvement. Same thing with my Nat boots, not corrupted. My belt, corrupted with all attributes. Ideally, it'd have something better. My ring, corrupted with a little extra mana leech. Ideally, a better ring with more resistances. Raven Frost, corrupted with more stats, not that big of a deal. And Soul Drainers, you know, uncorrupted. So there's plenty of room for growth in this gear set and plenty of ways to make it even stronger. Now let's take this off and let's talk about the other gear. Now, the big difference in gear changes that you're going to see right away is you're going to do Reaper's Toll, or you're going to do any big ethereal weapon with a lot of damage. And ethereal is really good because your Blade Fury does not use durability, so you can use any big weapon. I was using Reaper's Toll because I saw Haim the Noob using Reaper's Toll, and it was really smart. It has amp damage, it has a ton of damage, it's got Deadly Strike, you get Deadly Strike capped very easily, and it's just an overall really good weapon. I found this on the floor, I corrupted it, and I hit Deadly Strike, I then boxed it, and I got 4 sockets. The ideal corruption from what I was talking to other people would be enhanced damage and Deadly Strike. The reason why we want the Deadly Strike corruption is it allows us to hit Deadly Strike cap very, very, very easily. If you get the corruption like I have, you can easily grab a pair of Gore Riders and be Deadly Strike capped. If not, you have to do like I am the noob and change up your gloves to get Deadly Strike capped, but that's fine. My buddy Mendo found one of these, and his top end damage on his is like 1300, and he just leagues and leagues and leagues damage ahead of me. My body armor right now, I have Treachery. I don't have the money for a Fortitude. I don't have the money for Ethereals or any of that fancy stuff, so I'm still using Treachery. Ideally, I either get a Fortitude. I've seen people playing it with Enigma. I've seen people doing it with Ethereals. But my plan, I'm just going to grab a low rune later today. I'm going to stick on a Fortitude. It's going to fix my resistances and make resistance a lot easier. And it's going to give me a whole lot of damage to make up for the loss of skills. The helmet that I'm using right now is Andy's. I'm still not sure this is the best bet. I was using this on my Boston character. I grabbed it off my Paladin. I threw it on this guy temporarily, mostly for the 2 skills and the 3 sockets. There are other options. You can get a lot of different 3-socket helmets. You can get Veil of Steel, which is 1 socket. Last season I played with G-Face and I had a 3-socket G-Face, which is also another way, especially if you don't have Deadly Strike on your weapon, you can get 3 sockets here. But there's a lot of really good options in the helm. The helm with 3 sockets too also allows you to fix your resistances. My plan is to eventually rip this stuff out of the helmet or get a second Andes and use it to fix my resistances alongside Fortitude. The amulet, a lot of people are using +3 trap skills or +2 assassin with corrupt +1, but you just want resistances and plus the skills, which is really nice. Boots, Gore Riders, specifically Gore Riders for the Deadly Strike so that we can get Deadly Strike cap with Reaper's Soul. Soul Drainers for the minus physical resistance. This belt because it's disgustingly defensive. And then for our rings, you would ideally like plus the skills rings. If you get Tyrael's Might, you can replace Ravenfrost with a plus the skill ring. If you have a way to deal with Mana Leech, you could replace this. But there's a lot of options and flexibility for the gear. You see, we actually went down a little bit of damage switching to Reaper's Soul, but we gained damage in the form of Deadly Strike plus amp damage. Now let's go take a look at our skills before we jump into the rest of this map and showcase the difference in gear. If you were to play it as a claw build, you would want to max claw and dagger mastery. You also want to max Shadow Warrior, and then you want to max the synergies for Blade Sentinel, Blade Fury, and Blade Shield. These will be your basic skills that you want to max out. From there, we take 1 point into Burst of Speed and then 1 point into Dragonflight, and then any remaining points can go into Burst of Speed, giving you just beautiful burst of speed. So you see right now, like my skills cap at 29, my burst of speed is 22. I think it's something like 16 points in the burst of speed. You have enough attack speed using this weapon to not ever worry about attack speed anywhere. But overall, very simple and very straightforward. As far as stats go, I need to redo my stats. You want just enough stats on to wear your gear in terms of strength, enough dex to equip your weapon, and then the rest of the points in the vitality. To fix your resistances, you will do them in charms. Currently, my charms are not very good. I haven't gone out and traded for better charms. I just grabbed whatever's in my stash. These can easily be replaced for, resistance charms. Same thing with this. This is 10% resistance. This can be replaced with resistance. This could be a little better. And then this can be a little better. My Annihilus can be a little better. My torch is pretty good, and then the rest of my skills are just trap skillers. Ideally, I'll eventually replace these with trap skillers with life. But the build in itself is extremely straightforward, not too much to worry about, not too much, not too much craziness. And the gear is really flexible. You're gonna see if you look at some other people playing this, they use a wide variety of gear. I've seen people using Ariox Needle. I've seen people using, mauls. I've seen people using daggers. I've seen people using different kinds of war hammers. And there's just a lot of different flexibility in the build. And it's really cool because you get to like hop into a map, you blow up everything, and it just becomes this completely awesome powerhouse. And especially in these closed door map environments where you can now bounce your skill off of the walls, and you see like we're just completely and utterly cutting down all of the mobs everywhere. Now, something I will say, something that's very important, if you are not playing a Reaper's Toll variant, somebody's going to say to me, oh my god, what about Fizz Immunes? What do I do if I'm not playing Reaper's Toll? Well, you have two really good options. First and foremost, you have a mercenary. You can equip your mercenary with a Reaper's Soul. Your mercenary can easily fix your resistance problems by casting amp damage on an enemy. You can get Atmos Amulet, that also gives you another option, or you can get a good offhand claw that has amp damage as well. There are ways to break immunities. I think there's also the Act 4 merc, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys probably know, I don't really remember. I'm pretty sure one of the Act 4 mercs or one of the sides of the Act 4 merc has amp damage. You can grab that guy. That guy's also insanely powerful. But overall, all of the mobs are pretty straightforward. The only mobs that are ever really going to give you a hard time are the mob that you just saw that just really wouldn't die. That guy had stone skin. He's a little bit of a pain in the butt. Otherwise, everything else pretty much falls over. As far as your single target goes and how we're handling map bosses, depending on the map that you're in, if you're in a nice closed map like this or a map with a lot of mobs, your Blade Fury will just kill single target bosses, no problem at all. If you're not instantly deleting the mob, you have Blade Sentinel. Blade Sentinel is just absolutely crazy and allows you to kill all of the mobs relatively easily. In terms of movement with this build, we do have Dragonflight. You can just kind of like Dragonflight all over the place if you're feeling adventurous. I usually don't Dragonflight a lot in tier 3 maps simply due to the fact that my resistances aren't fixed at the time of recording. But as soon as I get my Fortitude later today, I fix my resistances, my character gets a little bit tankier, a little bit stronger, I'm just gonna be completely and utterly crazy and just kind of like start bouncing into everything without a care in the world, and just kind of like, you know, go a little faster and a little faster and a little faster and a little faster. This is one of those characters that has a lot of room for improvement. There are a lot of gear options, a lot of gear choices. You know, there's a million, you know, how they say, all roads lead to Rome. So, you know, there's not going to be a completely right way or wrong way to build it. You're just going to have to like stick some gear on and just completely go to town. And I had mentioned that I was watching yesterday, I was watching I Am the Noob, and like I said, he was playing with things with like putting on Enigma. I think Enigma could be really cool on this build, being able to teleport all around, but he was saying that he had some issues with cast speed and he wanted to fix the cast speed, and he was using a different F weapon. So the fact that we can just use almost any F weapon and it doesn't break is just like pretty awesome in my opinion. So there's just lots and lots and lots of room for growth and change. Now I'm trying to yap my way to the boss over here so that you guys, I think the boss was down there, and I think I'm going the long way, but I mean, like, I'm not really complaining. This map's been kind of crazy, and you see, like, yeah, it's not the, I'm personally me, not the fastest. Like, oh, we are at the boss, we're perfect, this works out great. Like I had mentioned, my buddy Mendo is way faster at maps. He has way better gear than me, and you know, as you progress your character and get more gear, you too will be faster and faster. Now there's the map boss there. He's completely and utterly killed by mercenary, and then we're just gonna hit him with the good old blade sentinel, and we're gonna keep our boy alive. And you see, we just completely and utterly tear him to shreds without any worry or problem at all, and it just went smooth. Now if we had fortitude, we'd have 1,000,000,000% more damage. If we had, you know, Veil of Steel, we'd have 1,000,000,000% more damage. So there's lots of room for damage improvements. So, you know, if you fix resistances in other ways, you can get 320/20s or whatever those are called. So there's just like options, man. There's just so many cool options. But I really just wanted to take a minute. I wanted to showcase this build to you guys and show you how I'm playing and what I'm doing, and another option to go alongside your chaos build. If you have any questions at all, feel free to leave a comment down below. Come stop by the live stream. I'll be streaming this build for the next couple of days before I find something else that looks really cool. I'll also probably be doing bosses on either my paladin or this character, depending on the gear that I get and how I'm doing things. I've already started really prepping my paladin to do bosses, so I'm probably gonna, like, you know, jump down the train of doing bosses. But before I go, I'm pretty sure there's somebody in here who wants to see what's on this, so we'll reveal this and then we'll get out of here. But for now, friends, oh my God, boys! Speak of the devil! I mean, you know, sometimes, you know, sometimes you just gotta not think and click. It survived, and that's all that matters. But for now, friends, I'm gonna get out of here, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Let's go, dude.